Physical coins and bars are one form. The other off way to go is in an account or a certificate for people that don't want to store physical metal themselves. What you're getting is a share of a pool of metal. It is usually quite cheap and it's very convenient because you don't have that cost of having to either go to someone and pick up the gold and store it yourself, or have them freight it to you and then have to freight it back to them to sell it. But you've got to make sure when you look at any of these programs, and there are a lot of them on the internet, exactly what is there physical behind this account? How robust is the legals, and what is it exactly that they're selling you? There are various online accounts. Bullion Vault, Gold Money are the two major ones. And the Perth Mint runs not an online system, but an account-based service where it basically runs like a bank account. You get an account statement. We also offer certificates which our dealers market as gold you can fold. And about 50% of the people that buy those products are actually American. And they buy them to keep their gold offshore in Australia. They consider Australia a safe haven. And that's their tagline, gold you can fold. And their pitch is that, you know, if you need to get out of the country quickly, you're an economic refugee, you can just fold this gold, put it in your pocket and get out. You're not going to try and lumber out of the country, you know, with all this gold and attract attention. So we find that product's very popular internationally for that reason. Probably less of a motivation for people in Australia, because I don't think we probably perceive ourselves as, you know, more economically at risk. But you know, there are other people in other countries that, you know, live in very difficult environments. I mean, one of my early clients when I worked in the depository is a lady who lives in an apartment in Israel. You know, now she is not interested in holding physical gold in the apartment. You know, they may shoot in a rocket over there and blow it up, and she's got nothing. You know, that is not safe for her. So she likes the fact that she's got a gold way off in Australia in a economically stable, a country that's never had a civil war. To her, that's safe. If she gets blown up and they get invaded, she can get on a boat and maybe be a refugee and try and get to Australia, but she's got this wealth stockpile in Australia that she can start her life up again. So we find that's quite a big reason, not so much a reason in Australia, but these accounts that we run are quite popular for that purpose. The other thing is there's two ASX listed products. There are a lot of stock exchange traded forms of gold overseas. In Australia there are only two. They're very much just a stock exchange listed version of an online account. Same issues of do they have the gold, where is the gold. There are two products. One's issued by us, which we call PMGs. There's a lot of different factors to them, but you know, I'll just mention it because there's a difference in the management fee. It's a lot cheaper to buy our one. And the metal on our product is actually here in Perth, whereas the gold bullion securities product is actually in London. And if you take our ASX listed product, which is you are able to take physical delivery if you want to. It's generally not the reason why you buy it. If you want to buy physical gold, just go to a coin dealer. But we put that feature in because we knew at some point, for example, whilst it's listed on the ASX could stop. You know, it could be have computer problems, there could be economic dislocation. Your contract or your listed product that you hold is with us, and you can just fill out an exercise form. Even if the brokers are all gone bankrupt, you can just give us the form and we'll give you physical gold. So it's very much a safer alternative in my view than having something where the gold's sitting off in London and there's not really any physical redemption ability at all. So the stock exchange ones is convenient if you've already got a stockbroking account, you've got other assets in there. Again, you don't want to have the hassle of physical gold. And also sometimes your online broker will just go, well, you know, this asset plus all these others can put together as collateral against other activities that you're doing, or margins, or if you need some sort of margin on some speculative trading that you're doing in other products. So as well for self-managed super funds, which we have a few that buy it, because again, it's just transparent, public listed price on a market. It's a lot easier to manage in a self-managed super fund because it's on a listed stock exchange. So that appeals. So who can you buy from? You had Bullion Mark come up. So Bullion Mark is an independent dealer buying Perth Mint product and reselling as well as other people. You can buy directly from us. But one of the advantages of having your local dealers here is that they buy in bulk from us and have a lower freight cost and can average that out. So they can sometimes offer physical metal cheaper than you can if you're just going to buy 1 ounce and have us, send it to you via freight. He's buying 100 ounces at a time and getting a discounted sort of freight rate. So sometimes it is cheaper to get. It's also a lot safer just to go to a coin dealer, give some cash over the counter and take some gold. People like to buy from the Perth Mint sometimes if they don't trust the dealer, they're not sure, is this guy going to go bankrupt, is he going to give me my money? So we also have people that ring us up and like to buy direct. Now there's a lot of the dealers here. Bullion Mark, for example, has got his online forum, so a lot of the dealers have online. Most of them telephone sales are done. There's plenty. In Sydney you're quite lucky because there's quite a few dealers in town. You could literally go from town to town, store to store within the CBD and bargain them all off against each other if you want to, if you're prepared to wear out some shoe leather. So there's really no difficulty in getting physical. It's a little bit difficult in some other states, but in Sydney you're quite lucky. You can get it privately. You'll see it advertised on eBay and on discussion forums. I'd just be cautious about that unless you really know what you're doing and you can trust the person and you know what it is that you're getting. I'd just be cautious of that. So sometimes there can be fakes on there and also issues about whether they're actually going to deliver. And if you go to meet someone, that itself could be a bit of a risk as well. But some people like to do that because they like to hunt the bargain out, cut out the middleman and deal direct. And I suppose if on some of the forums, which I'll mention some websites, you can get to trust the people that are on there. And the other thing as well is just Yellow Pages, look under gold and silver merchants. There are sometimes people that are not really coin dealers, but they buy scrap off jewellers. There's a little sort of industry around there, and sometimes they have metal that comes into them as well, so it might be worth looking in there and seeing what's local to you as well. Now, where to store, there's a lot of different factors to consider in here. The key thing is that all storage has got risk. There's a lot of stuff when you go on the internet and type in gold, a lot of people saying do not store gold with anyone else, you can't trust anyone, you have to store it yourself. And they sort of give this impression that storing it with yourself is without risk. It's not, it has risk, okay? I don't want to overstate that though, because gold is very dense from a value point of view. If this controller was solid gold, I suppose it's probably worth $20,000 or $30,000. So that's easily hideable. But some people are just not comfortable with that whole idea of having that safe haven on their physical property. That's a personal choice. Something to keep in mind around those issues is the speed of how quickly you can liquidate it, the cost of liquidation. So if you live out in the country, and the gold price shoots up or you want to get rid of it, it may take you a long time and cost you a bit of money to get it, and the price may have dropped before you can sell it. So, those are things to keep in mind as well. If you're storing it with someone, there's issues around how access to that, how easy is it to get to it. That may be a factor. There's costs of storage, insurance costs as well, even if you store it with someone else or with even yourself. So when you look at these options at storing stuff at your home or out somewhere else, you've got to weigh up all these different factors, and I could talk for a pretty long time about the pros and cons of all these different things. A lot of people store it at home because they're not talking about a lot of wealth. $30,000 is quite small, so they feel comfortable. Another option is safety deposit boxes. There's a bit of a debate as to whether you should be holding it privately in private safety box deposit facilities versus banks, because you can have bank holidays where banks are closed and you can't get to your gold, the bank is not open. A lot of the private vaults are 24-hour access, and they're non-banking institutions as well. So if you think there's going to be, say, a run on banks or banks will shut down, you could get into a private vault and get your gold out. And there is one in Sydney. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. There's actually one in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. The vault, is it? Yeah. So probably taken over an old bank vault, I think. So there is an option. If you do a Google search on it, you'll find it. You can store it with the coin dealers. They generally don't do that too much because they're more in the business of selling it and delivering it, and there's a fair bit of cost. And obviously the Perth Mint runs, as I said, an account service, so you can store it with us. We currently hold about $3 billion worth of precious metals for investors. And I suppose maybe 80 to 90%, I don't know the exact number, are overseas. It's not that much in Australia. So there's a fair few overseas investors, as I said, 50% American, who are storing their gold in the Perth Mint because they think that's a safer place than in the US, which maybe we can understand why that's the case.